prosper. I'll come to why. Number two, it came to protect your mind. Okay, it came to protect your aql. And also, like for example, your religion. That's why there's a capital punishment on those who apostate. Treason. It's come to protect your lineage.
So would you want a punishment in the United Kingdom for Muslims who convert
no, it doesn't work like that. So if there'll be a capital punishment, there'll be a due process. So it's not about me wanting. It's about that I believe this is the best solution for the Western world. Then there's a capital punishment for adultery. So Islam has come to protect your lineage, so that you know your kids are your kids. Yeah. So there's a capital punishment adultery for both men and women.
So again, this is a law that you want to see introduced in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I believe it's the best thing to happen, and I'll tell you why. Because now we can talk about, oh, that sounds cruel, but let's talk about why.
To me, it does sound.
Of course it would. Very, you know why? Because the thing is, we say
authoritarian. Sounds very tyrannical.
Yeah, you know why? Because
that doesn't mean I support theft and adultery. And
100%, I agree.
I just think this kind of punishment. I've been to Saudi Arabia. Yes, Saudi Arabia is a very safe country, but that's also a very brutalized culture to do that to people.
Saudi Arabia is a fine example of using
Islamic. It's a much safer
Islamic.
country than Britain is.
It is. But what I would say is this: there is a saying, mercy to the oppressor is oppression to the innocent. To have mercy on the oppressor is to have oppression on the innocent. So the logic behind is this: I'm not going to have mercy on a outright maniac who's going to come and cause rape, kill, theft, cause disorder on the land. That's why in Surah Ma'idah in the Quran, chapter 5, it talks about highway robbers. And it says, if you catch them, you should cut off their limbs from either side. Left arm, right leg. Right arm, left leg. And then you should crucify them. Now, sounds very harsh.
Sounds medieval.
Barbaric, medieval, no problem. This is the reason why. Islam believes in this. We would rather give a capital punishment in the most severe way on a group of thugs where you are going on your business to a trip with your wife and kids, and they stop you in gunpoint and shoot your wife in the head, steal your money and run away. Islam says we will deal with these individuals in such a severe way that there's actually a verse in the Quran when it talks about warfare. It says strike them in such a way that the ones behind them see and run off. The point is what? Islam is here to save life, to preserve life. Your way of doing it, the liberal way of doing it is, they stole, don't do it again.
Why is it the case?
You're going to have PS5 in prison, you might have lunch. Islam says no. Let me just finish this point, yeah? Forgive me for giving a lecture. I just want you to understand, because I don't want to do injustice to it. So Islam says, the one who stopped you when you was going peacefully to your way on a trip, shoot your wife in the head in front of your kids, these people deserve the severest capital punishment in public. So imagine Speaker's Corner, and we're here today, guys, and we're going to see the capital punishment of 2 highway robbers who killed this innocent man's wife. And here they are going to be getting their limbs cut off and hanged. Now, other thugs, other highway robbers are going to be looking and thinking, that was bloody gruesome.
So that's not true. Do you know why?
Tell me why. But this is Islam, by the way.
So I think you know the history of Speaker's Corner.
Yes, it's basically
Speaker's Corner.
Tyburn Corner, where they used to heretics.
They used to have a gallows.
Yes.
It was 3 pieces of wood in a triangle, raised up on a scaffold.
Yeah.
And they could hang, I think, 3 or 4 people on each.
Yes.
Now, at that time, crime was far worse than it is now.
Yeah.
They had a very strict amount of punishment for people.
Yeah.
Or I think of the United States. The United States is far worse crime than UK.
Can we move?
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
Sorry.
No,
I want to hear you clearly.
If anyone has any questions, please. I don't mind if.
Yeah.
But you know, England used to have capital punishment for highway robbers.
Yeah.
There was a famous Claude Duval came from France. He was a highway robber in England who was hanging. So he was eventually hanged at Tyburn Gallows.
Oh, brilliant.
Right where Marble Arch Traffic Island, there used to be the gallows. And you'd have thousands of English folks gathering around. I think they only stopped doing this a couple hundred years ago. It's not that long ago. And yet crime was far worse then than it is now. Far worse.
It was far worse then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Crime in England. London was a far more dangerous place in the 1750s to the 1850s than it is in 2014. 24. It was far more dangerous. Or I think of the example of the United States. More dangerous country, more violent crime, more thefts, higher incidence of rape. And yet they have a far more capital punishment focused system. Not all the states, but many of them.
It's a very good point.
So for me, I think we've got to be careful. Now, on the other hand, it's true that China and Saudi Arabia, they have capital punishment and they are safer.
And I'll tell you.
So I'm admitting that it's not like a clear-cut issue.
I'm going to tell you.
But we have to be very careful and say, well, look, if someone attacked my wife, killed my wife, of course I'd be absolutely. There's no emotion to describe.
Would you want them forgiven?
There will be no way to describe the emotion. However, I do believe, as someone, this might be because of my Christian upbringing, even though I'm not a Christian now, I do think forgiveness is the appropriate solution. That doesn't mean you let them have freedom.
That's interesting, because Allah says in the Quran...
Forgiveness is for yourself. Forgiveness is about letting go of the anger. If you have someone who carries around anger in your heart, you're going to have a higher rate of heart attack, all kinds of stress, illness. So to forgive the person who did that crime is a way of not saying it's okay to commit the crime. It's a way of saying for you, you're at peace, like you can move on. And I know, I think in Islam there's a rule, there's a space for that. There's a space for that. So it's not necessarily either or. Just think we have to be careful. Like the example I gave, in the UK, an innocent man was put to death by the state after due process, for a crime he didn't commit. Now, how many people in Saudi Arabia or in the United States or in China have been put to death under Islamic law, under Christian-inspired laws, under communist-inspired laws, right? They've been put to death wrongly and there's no way to come back from that. And I just think you're maybe overlooking the risk involved there.
Okay, so let's break it down a bit, because there's a few points that you mentioned. In Islam, Allah says in the Quran that there's qisas. For example, a murder, an eye for an eye. So we believe in that, an eye for an eye, yeah? However, Allah says that there's also blood money that can be paid, that can be set at the discretion of the family, so they can ask for blood money. And I'm afraid Allah does say that it is better if you forgive. So Allah is saying it's better if you forgive.
He was a peacemaker.
It is better if you forgive. That's at the discretion of the family. Not going to a court, and then this person who committed this massacre or whatever, then all of a sudden, the judges that give this the ruling, they do such an injustice by saying 5 years or 10 years, and then the family is distraught. The family is distraught. Why? Because it's injustice. The family's member's life has been taken. They should have the choice of eye for an eye, blood money, or forgiving them. So now, coming to, you made something very interesting, and I was thinking about this. In certain situations in America, there's a capital punishment. Electric chair, the injection, all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work. Now, I wouldn't say it doesn't work, because Islam deals with the situation from a micro level to a macro level, which means the following. Islam says we get rid of all kind of evil around us, meaning the following. Now,